So as you know, I've been saying this for the last God knows how many years. I've been always raising this front and centre because I generally care about the men and women of our defence forces, both sea and air, and obviously the ground forces. I generally do care. I care for their willingness to defend our country, the willingness to defend our freedom, our rights, and our liberty. Above all, and our sovereignty. I know me, how Mountain doesn't like that, but it has to be said. But what's happened at the moment, we seen an incident in Cork there 2 days ago, where a Russian submarine was at the Cork Harbour, was at the entrance of Cork Harbour. And just to say it straight, before I even go any further, do I have to list off the amount of stuff that's happening in the Irish Defence Forces at the moment? So first of all, we barely have any ships. We have ships, but they're not operational because there's nobody to man them. And second of all, half the ships are in dock. There's only two whole ships in the whole Navy out in patrol. People are smuggling drugs and stuff into the country because there's no Navy to intercept, because there's only two whole ships for a whole country with a big coastline. You can kind of see where I'm going to. But basically, long story short, we also don't have the capability on our Navy ships to detect underwater submarines and stuff like that. So if there's a submarine underneath a naval ship, they couldn't tell unless it literally raised up a flag and said it's there. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, what happened in Cork, basically, the Royal Navy, along with the Royal Air Force, had to dispatch choppers which had sonar to detect submarines under the water, because obviously you can't see a submarine when it's 50 feet down, basically, or 10 feet down. You can't see it. You couldn't be that good. So the Royal Navy had to go and basically chase off the submarine from Irish territorial waters in basically Ireland. So first of all, straight away you'd be like, other country has to come and defend a sovereign country. The Royal Navy, the British, basically, who occupied us for hundreds and hundreds of years, have to come and defend us from from a submarine, because again, it is a breach. It's in the international waters. The Russian submarine shouldn't be there. I don't care if it's belonged to Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. It's the fact that it shouldn't be there. The Irish Navy wouldn't just randomly turn up off the coast of St. Petersburg. That's what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't be there in the first place, and it's just perfect example that the Irish government probably didn't even know was there. The Irish Navy didn't even know was there, because they just don't have the sonar. They simply do not have the sonar to see the submarine on the radar on the ships that it's there. Because going by my calculations, there has been sonar, up to date sonar, since about the 1980s. So that's what they're really working with now. And obviously, since the 1980s, things have evolved over 100% better. Like even ships in the Irish Navy, when the Irish Navy was formed in the 40s, before just during the Second World War, they even had sonar. They had modern sonar on them ships. Even the country was very poor at that stage. They had sonar on the ships. So it's mad that the Royal Navy had to go and defend it. They had to go and chase off the submarine. And it's just a perfect example. I've said it time and time again. We've seen hundreds and hundreds of people leave the naval service, along with the air service, along with the ground forces, and we all know what their game is here. Like the Irish government know this. They don't. They're not stupid. You mean to tell me Leo Varadkar and Micheál Martin are stupid and can't see this? I'm not a military expert. I know people say, "Where's my PhD in military technology or whatever?" Did I graduate from Harvard University or something in the United States? No, it's just anybody can see at the moment what's happening. There's literally Ireland has nearly the worst human trafficking level, particularly in the European Union at the moment. That's because they're bringing them in on ships and there's nobody to intercept them. There's no naval ships patrolling base. There's only two in the whole country. There should be at least, at most, about 20 ships patrolling around the whole coast. But obviously that's not going to happen because we only have about 9 ships in the whole Navy. So, even Iceland has more ships, just to put it there. That's a Coast Guard, just to say. So when you're bad when Iceland is actually beating you. And literally the only country, there's nobody around Iceland, basically. But long story short, I don't mean to undermine the Navy and stuff. My main gripe here was with the government. We all know their agenda. They want a European army. Like, we all know that. We can see it by now. It's plainly obvious. They want a European army. They want to be in NATO. Like, they're just jumping up and down every day of the week about joining NATO. But even Sweden, take Sweden and Finland for example. Finland has military conscription for young males, has a big army, nearly 40 or 50,000 active soldiers at one stage, and then they could call up 1 million men at the moment's notice, and they have nuclear bunkers, and they have a huge amount of weapons, they have gas masks, they have bunkers and stuff, they have bunkers for the whole population, nuclear bunkers for nuclear apocalypse or anything like that. Like, and they have military weight, they have fighter jets, they have tanks. Even though they were a neutral country since after the Second World War, they still were very prepared. And the same with Sweden, they have a big air force, they have a good bit of a navy, even though they're in the Baltic and stuff. They have good sonar for the air force and stuff. They have a decent 40,000 active troops or something like that, along with a couple of 100,000 reserves and stuff. Not as big as Finland, obviously, but that's just the perfect example. They jump up and down every day of the week, the government here, about joining NATO, and we're barely at probably 8,000 active troops. And just to say, there was a review done a few years ago saying that the number should be about 15,000 total active troops, ready to mobilise at the moment's notice, along with a good, I think they said 10,000 reserves, because again the population has increased exponentially, and obviously need more men to man the fences and stuff, because the country is a big country. Ireland is a big nation, and the Fed structure is basically just fucked. It's up in fears, even though it's €1 billion a year. It's just absolutely fucked from the core. Because it's just to do with pay. Like, that's what's fucking it over to the Navy. A lot of young lads, particularly in coastal Galway and stuff like that, would probably love to join the Navy. But if you have a family, you have two children, you have a wife to feed who's at home looking after the children, you only have a small salary, being out long time at sea and stuff like that, and you come home to basically getting fuck all, you're getting more nearly an Asda. Why would you go out? Why would a man who has a family go out and join the Navy? Or why would a man who's single go out and join the Navy if he gets more work in the local shop? That's my point, and that's what's happening at the moment. And now I do appreciate the government giving them allowances for when they're at sea. They can get a few pound extra, but it's simply not enough. It's plainly obvious that it's not enough. It's plainly obvious. It couldn't be any more obvious if it hit them in the face. But as I say, it's just a bad show that the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force had to come and chase off a submarine out of Irish territory waters. Just to say, being a sovereign country, I know Micheál Martin absolutely fucking hates that word, being sovereign. We want nothing to do with a backwards idea of sovereignty, he famously said, and I quote Micheál Martin there in Dáil Éireann, it's on the Dáil record that he said it wasn't nothing to do with backwards ideas of sovereignty. He's the Minister of the Defence, just to say. So you can kind of see where I'm going from. He doesn't want a backwards idea of sovereignty. You have to just admit it. That's such an awful statement to come out with, especially at the time he was in opposition in Fianna Fáil. He wasn't in government, but it's such an awful thing, particularly because he hasn't clarified that he still agrees with that statement. So he probably still, the minute the Fed says, I don't want nothing to do with backwards idea of sovereignty. And you're just sitting there like, what? It's just crazy stuff. And it's just, we simply have to be honest. We have to call a spade here. Let's put it that way. Things are getting bad in Europe. There's many conflicts going on around the world. Times are getting dark. We do need a way of defending our people. If God forbid, if something did happen, hopefully it never would happen, but if some threat ever materialises in the country, we do need a military to defend our people and defend ourselves. We can't be relying on other countries to defend ourselves for us. We have to be ready to defend ourselves if something ever, God forbid, happened. But as simple as that, we do need a defence forces. And at the moment in time, by the own commission that the government paid to do, to get commission that I don't know how to kind of phrase that. My English has gone off or something, but basically they said they couldn't, the state of the defence force at the moment, they couldn't defend Ireland, both in the ground and on the seas and in the air. There's no capability to defend the state from if the state was ever attacked, and that's from the government's commission's own mouth. That's not from my mouth, but it's from their own, that it's very bad. Let's put it that way. But it's just a perfect example that that the government just want the European army and just want to be in NATO and let NATO deal with us. That's what I want. Thank you.